and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there everyone, and welcome to this beloved Illumined Union video where I will be creating a sort of recap or a synthesis of the whole beloved journey. So as you know, I have a whole playlist on divine love and beloved union or reunion. And for those of you who've been following this path and you have been integrating this journey from within your own core, you are at the point of understanding that this journey was not just about the union of two people. This journey was about the synthesis of polarity so that the original essence of life could be birthed through the individuals who are capable of stepping into a true illumination. So in this video, I want to again present what is my big mission here in life, which is the illumined union and the laws of illumination through the understanding of the sacredness of divine marriage. So as I've already implied in the overall Ascension update for the month of December, I want to do a sort of a synthesis of this journey and where it's bringing us, where a lot of you perhaps are finding yourself now. And before I begin, I wish to say that within the videos that I've created on, during the years and that are on that playlist of Divine Reunion, there's many different levels of attainment. So there's many different levels of divine union, and I always tell you that it's not such a thing that you can reference as something with a certain specifics and it applies to everyone, because it really all depends on the mission of your soul, the level of your soul's evolution, and the journey you have set for yourself here in this life. So the things that will resonate with you, there's perhaps those of you who won't understand what I'm talking about here, just go to the videos that perhaps apply to you more in the way what you yourself are embodying and understanding at this time, because the level of illumination is the level of the essence self. And it's very rare for beings who are here to, in a way, incorporate that level of light, to bring that essence of spirit into physical form, and to hold a state of divine union at that level. So go back as far as, I think it was not last summer, but a summer before that, I made a specific video about illumined union, and I've read to you the automatic writing, which will also become, it is already a part of my book that I'm working on. As you know, I'm working on a trilogy of light, and the third part will be the Tantrika, the seed of life in the illumined unions on the beloved path from the perspective of illumination. And what I'm going to present today is sort of a recap of what this journey for those of you who are going to the level of illumination was all about, and why perhaps you are experiencing the things you are experiencing in your life. It's not to say that everything about this topic can be found within the framework of a specific, I don't know, encoding, such as, the topic now presented from the twin flame perspective. It holds many different, alignments, but again, it depends on where you yourself are standing from your own soul's evolutionary pathway. So the reason why I'm saying these things and I'm sharing it with you is because I want to present the truth of illumination for those of you who are going to operate from the mastery level at the essence self. So I don't know how much more I can explain about this, because I was doing this throughout the years, but during this synthesis, I want to create almost like an emphasis on the whole big picture, and I did this short mini channeling on the purpose behind this and what truly the essence level union means. So as you know, there's many different levels of the embodiment which you as a human being can bring into yourself through yourself, and it will depend upon what path you will choose, right? So the path you're creating will be a reflection of the inner union level that you're able to integrate within yourself. So the beloved synthesis I'm doing here today, also a part of me serving and sharing this knowledge and wisdom how to move through these archetypes that eventually lead you into the essence level, which is the core of your creation self, I have created a while back the Cosmic Beloved course. And this course is almost like a walk through the dynamic of relationship and how during and between these relationship experiences we find aspects of ourselves that are almost like codes that we can assimilate to get further and further into our essence. And if you can imagine this journey, it's almost like we're being pulled more and more to the core. And some people, where they are and where they preferably would wish to remain, because that is the level they feel they're destined to be with and the level of light they can hold, and this is where they usually stop for a while. And that means that there's those of you who are continuously being pulled more deep within, and that's what I call the essence of the Cosmic Beloved. And my focus throughout the whole awakening journey of the Cosmic Union was about this pathway of illumined union, because in a way it is so rare, because people don't know what it means. People don't know what's the difference between, this kind of level of embodiment and that kind of level of embodiment, and, perhaps something else. It's not about a label, because you can have a label and there's still going to be different experiences depending upon the level of light someone is integrated in their lifetime and as a soul being, which gives them the capacity to either bring that through or not. So it's very natural. And of course, those of you who are now ready and really being pulled into this masterful embodiment, you feel this pull. And it feels like the synthesis of the beloved journey is something you're walking through at this time. And I'm going to give you a little piece of, it's almost like a heart shared or heartfelt wisdom, how this can be experienced in many cases. When this journey begins, you feel what this overlightedness means. And it's almost like an instant knowing, and it's something you're very loyal to, and it's something that we usually say it's the awareness and the knowledge no one can take away from you. And that's that level of illumination held at the being, the level of the being. And the more this essence starts to pour through, it will have to in a way move through many things in order to truly be held eventually at the level of purity, so that there's nothing but the essence level that will govern our experience. So if you have two people then coming together, formulating that union, that these two individuals would be ultimately prepared, for each other. And I want to say, and I'm going to explain a little later on what this is about, is that in many cases, those of you who are called and who are on the pathway and mission of this essence level embodiment, in many cases, people like that did not know the counterpart they're sharing this experience with in order for themselves to develop the essence level of trust first within. Which means, when you have a mirroring experience within a partnership, there's always a little bit of the safety net. But when you are alone, and you're never truly alone, but when you are alone at that level, you learn to have and develop the sort of level of trust which is so unconditional, and it is the unseen aspect of what I call the Cosmic Beloved you are working with. And because of that, the penetration of the essence level gets deeper and deeper, because in a way you have no other choice. It's either trust or fight or flight, right? So this in a way creates the individuals who have come here to share this path of the ultimate union, in a way, which is the strongest essence, because it knows how to create life. And you will see and hear that in the channeling. But I want to present you with something here, is the essence of the twin tree of life. Well, in many cases, we associate the tree with the symbolism of the tree of knowledge, right? So when the two lovers ate, right, in the Garden of Eden, they've eaten from the fruit that comes from that tree. They were, in a way, infused with that knowledge, and things started to change. Because knowledge brings the integration of the journey that perhaps wasn't there before. So imagine that innocence that was birthed or planted within that seed. And I always, when I draw the sacred tree of life, I do this trunk with a hole inside, and it's kind of like this dark aspect that I call the divine womb of creation. So within that womb is the seed, and that seed carries the highest potency of life for you and your union. And in that seed, there's almost like an inscription, or it's in a way the encoding that is specific for you. And that is why for some people will be very dangerous even, to fall for the external guidelines that tell them, well, this is how it's supposed to be, or this is what union is about. It has to come from the internal wisdom, because each specific being is encoded within their own seed of life, because that's what it means. That seed is the seed of life within the creatrix design. And within this seed it's almost like that immaculate conception for you, and it's that pure state. It's the state of divine innocence. And then when the tree, right, that's the loss of innocence in a way, eating the fruit from the tree. And when that innocence apparently through perception was lost, it wasn't truly lost, but there was a pathway of discovery and integration of knowledge that in a way it served the purpose. So there was the trunk that is held together through the principle of unity, kind of split apart and became the two. But because of that, the integration of knowledge could expand. It could, it was able to grow bigger and bigger. And there was a lot that was able to be created within that dynamic. Remember always the helix, right? The coiling serpent that comes together and comes again apart. So when there is this highest potency, will always be experienced as this, the highest. It's almost like the biggest interval between, the two filaments of light, and that potency is so strong that the new coming together can occur, and then a new level of creation, and so on and so forth. So when we have that understanding, we will see that union is not just coming together with a certain person and that's it. The union is the understanding of how feminine and masculine principles of light co-create together. These are, of course, principles of life held together within the greatness of creation principles. So when you are holding that level of knowledge, wisdom through this understanding, you're getting closer to the essence level. And the essence level for you is your own individual tree of life. If you don't understand so much about this and what does this natural polarization mean and the law of polarity, you can get my self-mastery course called the Mastering Polarity in Twin Flame Consciousness, or Twin Soul Consciousness. So this tree of life is the above and the below principle, because it has the roots go like this, and then the upper part of the tree goes like this, and it expands and extends into two parts represented by the two levels of branches, right? But in the middle is that seed, and that seed is that cosmic potential that is your own story in a way. And that story, I've always told you, it cannot be looked at from the perspective of something you've gained as an external knowledge. But there are certain principles that do not change. And these principles, in a way, they don't have to do anything with knowledge, because knowledge is very diverse and it's versatile and it can shift. But there are certain principles that never change. They govern the meaning of life and the origin of everything in creation. So the essence level of the beloved embodiment is, in a way, a coupling formation that is able to hold physical form, that has an innate understanding held within their light DNA, that brings this encoding and is able to seed it through the physical form. So again, let me repeat that. There's many levels of union. People come together, people come apart, people come together, people come apart. These are aspects. And through many archetypes of learning and learning about ourselves, and through relationships, dynamics, there is more and more understanding of how polarity works through, this division and the coming together and coming apart. So in a way, that first seeding of, well, the masculine and feminine energies are going a little bit apart, also brings eventually that coming together again. But again, what comes together, right? So we say union, reunion, can only come together from the encoding of light that was in a way created during this, like I've explained to you, this highest or maximum potency of light, which is this interval in between. So the biggest, the more you spread it out, the more it holds this electric charge, and that electric charge will create a greater embracing within the magnetic nature of, life that creates. So this means that as you are as a being, the more you're able to, in a way, separate yourself, which is not true separation, right? You are one, because everything in life is always held within the principle of unity. So there is separation, but from the core of union, like the tree of life, right? It looks like, well, the roots go down, the below, and there's the above, as above, so below, but the core and the seed always remains, and that's the core of our creation self. But like I've explained, when you as a soul develop your own integrity and you are mastering yourself and you're refining yourself, the more that you're in a way able to come apart, right? That means the more you're getting to know the self and how to create and how to understand the dynamic of life that is being created through you, the more of this potency you're bringing forth. And I've explained this, I think it was somewhere back in the summer when I made the beloved video update about this, and how these beings that are holding that level are moving out into the worlds of creation, and they're creating different energetic templates through that. So the union always comes together in a way with that, the creation when it bursts out, and then it's coming together and coming apart. But we as people, we don't understand. So there is a whole community of people right now that are all focused about things coming back together. But the whole missing point here is that in many cases we don't see what is the purpose of, the energy being held together as two separate individuals. And that's the whole basis of those of you who are in this, what I call the beloved path. In a way, everyone is. But in this specific lifetime, the choosing and the sacred vow you've made, the vow was there from the beginning. It's made from the seed. And sometimes this is also called the cave of creation, and this core of creation where you at the essence level have received your own divine templating. And a lot of times when souls begin to have their experiences incarnate, in many cases they forget. So they developed or they kind of find these missing links to kind of get the whole picture back together so that they could remember. But the level of the essence self is the level of complete divine remembrance, which is you don't just remember you are one, and people often say, I'm a twin flame, right? You are a being who also understands the reason why there was, in a way, entering into creation the way specifically you did so at your core innate design. I hope you're following me so far. So recently I was asking for some additional guidance to share with you, and I've actually received this. It was like a mini vision. It was like a little play out that I've seen. So I've seen a circle of light, and it was actually a being, which is the essence level of an illumined being, that in a way, that being is one. And I called it the primary or the one. And I've drew this circle here. As you can see, there's this, the overlighting aspect here, this being held at the essence level, that being is self-birthed. It's almost like when you say, well, there's different creators, creator gods, but who created them? Well, who created the source then that created those aspects of itself? And people are like, oh, we don't know how to go even way back. So these aspects of the overlighting nature held at the essence of that light being, in a way, they are self-maintained or they are self-birthed. But that essence level in itself cannot travel through. It's self-contained. So in a way, because of that, it cannot produce life just by being one. So the whole principle polarity is that it becomes the two. And then I've seen all these three beings, the one and then those two that come together as that coupling, they hold a formation. It was like they were holding hands in one triangle. And these two were the aspects of polarization that were capable of moving into life and seeding life. So I've seen it like when they were holding hands, this formation held at the essence level is capable of producing what I call a stargate. And that stargate is the self-birthing essence, which means those two beings now are capable of jumping in, and that essence level itself acts as a stargate or as a portal through which the two can, enter into and start, moving into the worlds of creation, depending on, again, the templating held here at the sacred core level. I hope you're following me so far. If not, just watch the other videos from my Divine Union because playlist, because it something doesn't make sense to you, it's not important for you in this moment, and you will understand if that's a part of your journey or when. So these two polarized aspects are created so that the life can be carried, right? The life can be carried through because the one is the overlighting essence. So in many cases, you might have an experience when you are perceiving the beloved union at the essence level, and people might call this, well, my beloved is my higher self, or it is this illumined being, and I cannot put it into a framework of being even a physical person. Or you might have a belief that level of divine union I can remember and held at the level of light or the essence level cannot be contained in a physical human form, and it cannot be a horizontal expression, for me coming into my life perhaps as another version of me. It's because there is this strong remembrance of this, the overlighting presence that is the one, that is the main reason that the two even started to exist. That is not truly so in entirety, because remember, the moment this is split in a way, but it is split within unity, it's not split in terms of separation. Separation is something that us as humans create through a lack of awareness of the primary consciousness that holds our life together. So when these two are created, right, this creates like a whirlwind, like this portal of energy. And I've seen it like two beings jumping in, right? And that became a self-sustained stargate through which you can travel and you can have different experiences that, again, they're included here in your seed of life. So these two polarized aspects, they, in a way, they can't be contained by being a single one. So there is an aspect of you that is this overlighting being, and many of you perhaps perceive that as this adoration or something that you feel within you is this highest ultimate. If you're a woman, perhaps you can perceive this as a master being held at the level of light, which you can say, well, can never be a physical man, it's too perfected, or vice versa if you are a man. But this is because for many of you who have not known this in your life, or you have, in a way, you have a memory. You have a memory of this held at the essence level, but you have never known it in a physical life representation or incarnation. It's because that was serving a very important purpose. I was shown that the two beings that are capable of holding illumined union together, both separately and together, they can't really, because they have such a strong responsibility. You will see that in the short channel message. That level is so important for the overall picture of what union truly serves for and what it truly brings, and how life is created, without being masterful in that way. So the knowing of not knowing, let's say there is a remembrance of that in spirit, but it's never experienced in form, it's for a reason, because you need to develop the kind of quality of divine trust and full surrender that you develop that part of mastery. And if your purpose is to bring the essence level down into the physical, remember, the union itself is not the entire goal, because you emanated as an illumined being. You emanate already from the union. You never come at it from separation. So that's already there. But the whole goal is to infuse life at the new level, is to lift the life essence into a new level of advancement, which means you have to, when you come into this physical expression experience, you have to master yourself. So in a way, you're being trained to have an essence level experience, and you cannot have that full trust if you're having the mirror there all the time, because you never, as a human, we have to know there's something different about becoming a human than holding this divine or lighting being essence level. So the whole human experience, and the reason for this, which we might feel and perceive as a division, but it was never a division. That's why the feeling is always there. And for many people, they can experience this as as the inner guide of the Sacred Heart that's so strong, that perhaps it's so intense that the longing they feel for it, they have to sometimes put it aside because it's so intense. And that's for a reason, so that you can survive at the physical level and you can do the things you're meant to do, because there is greatness behind the mission that accompanies this. Because, and again, the result for those who are here to hold the essence level is not union itself, because you are already one. Union is there. You've never truly separated, because the self-birthed essence of illumination birthed this forth. It's not the same as souls who have gone into incarnation from many different other levels that really came from that fragmentation, and they're climbing and they're moving their way back. So for them, in many cases, they don't know what it is, because they've started the experience from a very fragmented point. So they have to, in a way, gather enough light quotient within themselves and their journey, so they start remembering this. But those who are here to hold the essence level, the memory, the remembrance, the encoding of light was always there. But the difficulty was that the physical human experience did not match it until, and it won't, until the essence level is fully integrated within the self. And I will read you the channeling why this is so. So what is the essence level? The essence level, and I've talked about it also many times also in this Ascension update for December, is the level that you work with energy even beyond what we term as energy. This is, when creation is first, in a way, something is being structured or formulated. It's hard to find language for these things. Everything exists at the essence level. But the essence level in itself, like I said, cannot come into creation, cannot come into manifestation without the principle of polarization. So that's the main rule here. So the essence level, embodiment of divine union. So illumined unions are sort of unions that can and are destined to bring the essence into physical form. And why? The reason is that this is only done for the purposes of something that needs to, in a way, be brought into the structure, either this planetary template we're now existing. There is a sense of refinement, there is a sense of activating something. But that, for that to be so, there needs to be this activated within the self first. So like I said, there's many levels of divine union, but illumined union is the ultimate, because the ultimate self at the core is the essence level. And the essence self is something you can't say, like, oh, my essence is of the color pink, or my essence is, or this is that symbol that I've received from my soul. That's not yet the essence level. The essence level is, it's very hard to even put into words, and the essence even in itself probably is not, the ultimate word for it. But that can only occur when there is a true presence of the absolute embodiment and the understanding of the principles of life in creation. And that is the reason why I want to read you this channeling. But before I do, I wish to say that a little more about this, which I drew here for you, the circle. I hope you can see it, because there's a light here, very fitting with the illumination. So again, this overlighting being, this being, if I can, create it like a story, imagine there is something that needs to become as a physical expression. And the level of that which is able to birth life decides that it wants to move and it wants to become physical. So it divides in a way, right? So it creates this, the aspects of the self that will become, like we said here, two beings jump into the portal, and that which created it is a stargate in itself, right? It is the natural self, the essence level is already a portal. That's why those of you who are capable or are moving into the integration of the essence level, you yourself become a walking portal in 2 feet, because you have integrated this level. And it's something that is very hard to put into physical words, because it's very mystical. And it comes down to the things that, in a way, sometimes there's no language for it. So sometimes for me it's very difficult to present this. But when I saw this vision of these three, it was the aspect of divine trinity. As you can see here, the triangle, they were holding hands, and by that creating a vortex of light held at the essence level that created a stargate. The one, that is the star being, or the one being, holds the creation principle for the cosmic ascension and union. And the other two here represent the principle of polarity that is able to bring that birthing of life held at the essence level into a spark of creation, into the manifestation of form. Without the one becoming the two, which holds the principle again of divine trinity, there can be no existence of life, which then becomes the many and, of course, the infinite amount. So embodying the essence level means that you within yourself have to come into terms of what your core illumination truly means. And I have recently channeled and shared a cosmic self light activation, which is designed to assist you in really embracing that spark, which is the uniqueness of your core creation self. And that activation is available on my light activations page. Okay, so and many times this polarization is misplaced for what we call now on earth, what we have physical gender. But if you go back to the Hermetics, you know, one of the principles of Hermetics is the principle of gender and understanding how divine creates through gender. But here, gender is meant in a sense of, you know, that divine gender, which is that if you wish to create on the level of the creatrix itself, you have to know the real meaning of gender, not the gender we often associate it with. And there is physical human gender, and yet there's divine gender. But I want to also say that in many cases, we as humans, we're not seeing that the above will be represented through the below. So the union that is fully illumined and held at the essence level, and in many times I've said that, it cannot be two men or two women. You can't hold that at the essence level. That you cannot do that, because the gender that is divine gender will translate into the gender held at the level of physical form, because physical form is a fully manifested spirit or a creation principle dynamic. So you can have an experience of union, of course, you know, but held at the essence level can only be with there is, you know, this the gender polarization is present as well. So I want to now read you this channeled message about the essence level and illumined union. And again, if this doesn't make sense, just go and browse through other one of my videos or take the Cosmic Beloved course, because it's a few hours there of really diving deep into how you can assist yourself and truly seeing relationships as a gift instead of labeling them, moving through them with awareness and learning to ascribe these divine archetypes. You're experiencing them through, because they're actually gateways towards eventually moving into the essence level. The essence level form of union is an illumined union held together by the principle of divine trinity as the creatrix of life. Therefore, the unions that are held together at the core creation level understand the way life is created by divine source, and therefore hold a greater level of divine responsibility. Because of that, they hold the very same principle of life in their own being, and thus create everything through the core of creation self, which is the ability to give life. This is a natural ability to generate self-birth, like I explained to you here with the overlighting being becoming the two. Therefore, these unions are self-birthed and created from the very core of creation itself. Because of that, they require a greater amount of responsibility and integration for the functioning within the whole to remain pure and intact. This means that these unions are created and thus also sustained through the essence level. Due to that primary fact, they require a lot of training, initiation, and self-awareness so that there can be application of that in order to serve the law of one as the core principle of life. The essence level divine unions carry the seed of life within them, and therefore carry immense potency for creation, which also means that they must carefully and skillfully incorporate numerous factors into the way in which they are designed and how they function. The first level of training for these unions requires an absolute awareness of the self at the individual level of creation. This absolute self-awareness opens the gateway for higher understanding of life as the meaning and reason for existence. The next step of training and skill building, in a way, requires a state of divine remembrance at the core level, which means that the assimilation of creation principles is held at the level of innate light DNA, which I said here at the core. This then serves as a platform for divine knowledge, which generates a seal of creation that acts as an archway of seeding the design of consciousness as it's forming the essence of life. The complete integration of these universal principles that is held at the light DNA level can then be anchored into any experience and form according to a specific life design in question. This creates a solid foundation for one who is capable of holding the divine union held at the essence level through their personal embodiment. This then creates a proper interlocking of energy because the design of life is understood and applied at the foundational level. This can then start to move into the aspect of physical form and influence its structure from the very core of the essence level. This inner merge of the sacred spirit self and physical form provides the establishment of union of the two existing as one, which are required to resonate to this level of truth and converge the unifying masculine and feminine principles of polarity, known as the illumined union or the cosmic beloved embodiment of the essence self. You can also call it the cosmic ascension. In truth, cosmic ascension, cosmic union, it's one. It's really one and the same. So when you, in a way, as a being, when you were first seeded, right, into life, into creation, there was a template for you to eventually reach the potentiality of consciousness that will be able to give birth itself. But for that, you needed the experience and the training of what does it mean? What does it mean, this, right? What is the, sometimes called the caduceus, right? The wings and the interlocking spirals of the DNA. It's this primary component of life that is present everywhere. And when you don't just intellectually understand it, but when your being starts to incorporate and through each experience that your soul ever had through its soul evolutionary journey, you were getting more and more aware. You know, there was more and more illumination through each step of that journey. So like I said, that those who came here to master the essence level, in many cases and in the majority of the cases, they really required sort of surrounding that kept them locked. It's almost like you experienced the world so much from within because you had to learn to trust. You know, you really had to learn to read the background. It's like the background behind what you might apparently see, which sometimes it's difficult because this charge, right, this longing, because you already come from the level of full integration, of full union, and you know, kind of like jump in the portal and you come in somewhere and you're meant to seed your energy and your mission there, and there's a memory that never goes away. And in many cases, for people like that, you know, when we become people, we start having these emotions. Emotions are translating the energy of that divine memory. And in many cases, because the emotions can get so overwhelming and so deep and intense, we'll sometimes put that a little bit to the side. But that is so intense and it never goes away. And in many cases, we put that to the side so that we can, in a way, sometimes integrate other skills. So in those aspects, when we're engaging, we're in that level, we're skill building. And then what happens is, when, again, I've already explained this once, when enough of this skill building, right, and coming apart, so it means you've expanded yourself to the maximum in this cycle, a cycle perhaps you're currently experiencing, you will feel a pull, and that pull will say, now it's time to unify again. And that sometimes will be very challenging because you have taken the energy, you've expanded it so wide that in certain cases it will be almost like a little painful to move back into that unity, because the longing, the intersection point, the longing is always very intense. And for a lot of people who came in here with that kind of mission, again, it can be different levels. It's not just the essence level. I'm now explaining the whole journey of the masculine and feminine forces of creation and how as individual beings we're experiencing that through union. You will feel that sometimes you will have these moments, and there's moments when you can feel so charged up with this, what sometimes it's called a beloved bliss, and then there's moments when you can't. It's almost like you've spread so far out that it's almost like the pull starts calling you back and says, oh, come back to the core. Now it's time, right? We want to feel that again. And a part of you might resist because you've gotten used to it, how it is here at the outer regions, right? When you said, no, I'm really expanding. Now it's time to contract again. But it's not really a contraction in the sense of, a contraction. It's the coming back into that point of merge. So again, remember, I've shared this already in the summer when I've talked about the essence of this divine marriage, for those who are here to bring new levels of creation to this planet and beyond. So what you do is you are in your own space, in the space of expansion. You are skill building, and you are in a way refining things that wouldn't exist if you always were here, right? You were always in this state of merge. So because of that, there is a reason behind this, which a lot of people don't explain. People talk about, the whole mission here is for people to unite, and that's the end of the story. That's the whole mission. It's a very superficial level of seeing the bigger picture of what union is truly about. What's the grandiose universal, play here? What are we all a part of? The majority of the people doesn't ask themselves these questions. So they focus on these relationships that they perceive their mates or match, their perfect match, and then the journey ends. But we are a part of something much bigger here. And those of you who have understanding held, like I said, at the essence level, you are remembering so much at this time. And what I'm perceiving now is that the journey is almost like, it feels like it's completing, like it's folding back in itself. That there's some of us that we have come here to this planet, especially those of you who are volunteer souls. We really wanted to spread, we wanted to have that experience of how it feels when you feel you're alone. You're not alone, but you want to do this alone. You're doing this at the essence level. You are expanding to the maximum, within holding your formation in a way, so that when there is a folding back into itself, because first it happens in a tiny little micro levels, just like zipper concept, right? Little aspects, and then eventually the whole zipper is pulled up. You have a whole zipper concept here. So now it feels like this whole journey is ready to wrap in itself for those of you who are ready, because you are ready. How you know that? It's hard to explain this. I'm trying to do this synthesis here, but there is a knowing that you've done this, you've done that, before. It feels like there was passion for things that we needed to develop within this coming apart, which is not truly apart, but you get my point. It's this expansion needed to happen at the maximum level. So what you will now feel is, in a way, the withdrawal of that passion. And it's not for the reason of you're now meant to stagnate and you're not creating anymore. But that passion is still there, because divine passion, it's like the energy. You can't ruin energy. You can't negate it. It just changes form, right? That's the basic principle of energy. But the passion now starts to move and feed. It wants to feed into the merger process. Before, the passion was for the expansion. Now the passion sort of is starting to move into the state of contraction or merge. And at that point, because you were so getting used to being here, and it felt good, and you thought, I'm going to be physically experiencing, or I'm going to be in the experience of divine union at this level. But in a way, that's not truly so, because for us to truly be, and I'm getting these goosebumps now, because it's the truth speaking. We can only experience by coming back, by folding, by that everything we've created now folding back in itself, so that the life force that flew, or it was flowing through us. Sorry, it was flowing through us because it wanted to create certain things. It wanted to build a foundation. And there will be a sense of a feeling of completion when that step here has come and is ready to fall back in itself. It's very hard, again, to explain that, but those of you, like I've said, Spirit tells me, those of you who will understand, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, leave it because it will get too conceptual, and that's not the reason why I'm making this video, to make it complex or conceptual, is to bring this in resonance to those who are already in a way naturally in resonance. So the essence level union is almost like when you have that aha, you see the bigger picture of why you are the way you are, why sometimes you experience the way things were, why you did not, maybe as a volunteer soul, you did not have regular relationships, you did not have things in life the way, but you've expanded within yourself at the essence level the way the majority of the people cannot, because they weren't participating in this, in this current cycle where they are, but you did. And that is why there is a sense of knowing and a sense of coming back home. But how I experienced this, or have recently also experienced a part of this, is that, there is the initial burning passion that fuels this process. It's like the complete knowing of who you are, the beloved. There's no absolute doubt in that. But when that it's like a charge of energy moves, and it gets you to this expanded mode, when you come to the most external regions of if anything you can do and create, and I've talked about this before, is you find yourself so expanded that you sometimes, I sometimes say this to myself. I say, I don't remember how it was in the beginning, and yet I do. Of course I do. But there is an aspect of me that feels this vastness of expansion that I created on my own, that part of you is now in needing to surrender. So I'm being shown the last stage for the illumined unions, is that surrender, which is the knowing of how and why this process was there in the first place, and how this was always, it was always that was meant to be. Sometimes we might have an experience of, of doubt, and thinking, what the heck, am I just imagining? It's all in my head. But you feel things, and the feelings never lie. The mind can tell you things, it can fool you, it can tell you stories, but the feeling level, and we're talking about the people who are, mind can trick the feelings too, because the mind in many cases, it informs the feelings, and if you want to believe something, you will believe it so much that the mind will be all, but the heart is such a burning feeling that you can inform it through the mind in such a way, because it is the essence of this within itself. So when you're ready for that, the coming into that, the folding in itself, it will almost feel like there is this driving passion that starts to wane. And it's not a bad thing, because the passion said, now it's in my core design to expand here and do this and do that and do these things. But it's also in my core design, and that's the trust that needs to be understood, is that just as you were naturally guided to create that pull, the other pole, right, back into the center is also present, because remember, this is like that infinite journey of creation. So when that trust of this amalgamation experience is held at the ultimate level, you'll be surrendered, because there will be no more doubt. You won't fear the longing or the feelings, because many people can be like, wow, I knew how that feeling is, and then I came a little bit out into what I was creating, and then I want to go back because it was a little unpleasant. It's not truly unpleasant. When you go to the core of your feeling center, what you will feel it will be more like, is that when you call it the sweet sadness, or it's not really sad, but it's what sometimes we can express as longing, but it's not the negative kind of longing where you long for something that's not there. It's the longing for something that is there, and that's why the longing is naturally there. It's self-obvious, because it's an expression of itself as it remembers that why it was put there in the first place, because the longing, remember, is an aspect of passion that is like a guideline, a signpost to get you where you need to be. And in this case, when it's time for the return, it folds in itself. It will guide you in the proper way. So I hope this makes some sense. And I really wanted to do this recap, because for the illumined union, it was always, the destination was not union itself, because you are already coming from the level of union. The destination was an amount of expansion that you, as a part of your soul agreement, needed to achieve and to bring to this planet. and to see life on this planet with that level of expansion that you could only do when your focus was truly held at the essence level, which in the majority of the cases was you and only you. You were never just you, and you felt that through your inner urges and longing, and it was this remembrance you held at the light DNA level, which is coming here, from the core templating that you hold. So if you want, there is this light activation I provided for you, which is the cosmic self light activation as a journey. It's almost like a voyaging into your cosmic spark of uniqueness and truly embracing the essence level. And if you want to do more work, if you feel, wow, I'm really feeling this, but I don't know where to begin, I would advise you to start with the Cosmic Beloved course. I also have a soul embodiment through the Journey of Beloved Union course, so that's also good and recommended. And I hope this kind of served, some of the things perhaps you had questions on, and some of the things. And I want to again say that why, because sometimes people are feeling this sense of, why am I not coming together, or why is this the way it is? But remember, even with the people who are having an experience of separation and they're not coming from the essence level embodiment, they eventually will. That's the whole point. But the masculine and feminine creation principles can only create through the law of purity when they themselves are in the awareness of what they are. It's almost like that prime spark remembering, oh, I know what I am now. And that level can now create together. So recently I had a dream when the masculine and feminine energies were like, it was almost like a tunnel. And they said, well, I'm doing this, I'm going apart. And in many cases, there's stories even. And just recently we started to watch this TV show called Outlander, and someone recommended it to me. And again, it's that story, of these karmic pulls and push and back and forth and, together and apart and drama and all of that. And it's actually such a beautiful representation. But in many cases, right, the journey of divine union, which is held at the self level, which is, the level of you, coming into yourself on the soul level, is the journey of accepting this unconditionality, unconditional love for you and the other. But the illumined union is beyond that. It's beyond just the level of, okay, that's compassion. And I need to share something more about this because I have this beautiful painting. I shared it with you once on Instagram, and I got it from this local painter woman here. She's amazing, and she also does cosmic art and so. And it's when I first saw this painting, it was somewhere at this exhibit, and I saw it and it mesmerized me because I could see myself in it. And the painting is actually held in a triangle, and it has two beings, a woman and a man. They're actually just, their heads are on the picture, and they're kind of like looking, above this field that it's almost like a waterfall full of lotus blossoms. But I remember since I got the painting, I was so happy I got it. I just put it on my wall. It's like, oh, my beloved corner altar. I was so excited about it. And I just didn't really delve into it. I just felt the painting at the essence level. Recently, because I was so slowed down through the energy, I was lying in my bed and just staring at the painting, and suddenly I got it. Because these two beings are above that field full of lotus flowers, right? And as you know, lotus, flotus, right? Because it floats on the water. So the lotus represents that compassionate essence. So that's the first level of union, which is the level of integration that the majority of the people who are now experiencing this and calling it a twin flame reunion are needing to come into. Like in that TV show, there's aspects where they're not fully unconditional with each other. And then there's falling outs. And again, and it's that original story again, over and over again. But when I was looking at that painting, these two beings, when their heads are up, and I was like, they're beyond that. The illumined level is beyond that. And even the colors, they're like whitish gold, where they're looking above from that. So in many cases, when you read about these things, they're written from the perspective of needing to attain the self. And if you go back to that summer, I think it was 2 years back, when I read to you the automatic writing of what illumined union truly means and the different levels I explained there. And I read that same thing. If you don't know about the video, I read that same thing in the soul embodiment course I have as an offering. And there's a whole explanation there as well, in depth. So there's something beyond, and it's not so much presented. In many cases, we will feel that level as, oh no, that's only for the masters, or that's held there as at the higher self level. But I was shown that that's not truly so. It is only so for the time of being until we really integrate that. When we are in the process of integrating the essence level, which is you as a master of the essence level, knowing how to, it's not just reading the energy, it's feeling life in creation at its very core principle. And that's it. It's very simple in truth. So the painting showed me that. And that's the reason why I fell in love with this painting, because I saw myself in it. And that's just me and my path. And I know that to be the core of truth. Because the reason how I acquire truth is through my own contemplation and what spirit shows me rather than external information. I don't do that. But when information sometimes comes unexpectedly and synchronistically, it is an alignment with that guidance, which comes as that reaffirmation and further acknowledgement of what is known and felt from within. So that painting was such a divine blessing, and I felt like I received the painting all over again one more time because I really saw it and it made complete sense. It was that aha moment of that's that beyond level, beyond just, you know, that compassion and mastering that, because it's already done. It's there. You don't need to be, when you are at this level, you don't need to be more compassionate. You came here for a different purpose, and that purpose is to seed a new level of life here. So if that resonates with you, or if you want to learn more, I've explained to you what you can do. There's courses available. And I wanted to do this synthesis as my gift for this month. It is a time of deep introspection. For those of you who really feel this calling, you might feel now this greater urge to go into this, it's almost like a nesting phase. And I've heard this, or it was more like a feeling, which was like just nest the energy, just hold the energy. And I asked myself, well, how can we assist the overall process, you know, so that it can more easily unfold? And the answer was just be in this blissful state and this inner happiness, inner bliss, because that's what charges, you know, it's almost like the particles of light are being charged, and it creates an effortless dynamics. Because it's the being level that's being held here. It's not the doing. So the question, what we can do, nothing, and yet we can, but not doing. It's just the level of the alignment with the essence that we're now ready for. So I hope this helped in any way. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a beautiful month of December. As I've already shared, I made these 2 updates because I wanted to bring more this time through the beloved path. And it's like a synthesis of all the years and all the culmination of, you know, the journey of beloved is a slow divine remembrance process. And when you are in this illumined path, it will be an unfolding, because you can't just get it all at once. It's so deep, it's so vast. So it comes in stages. And if you're going to watch the videos on my playlist, you're going to see the unfoldment that was a part of this process that's very natural and organic. So you might find yourself this month really, really feeling the pull back. It's almost like you want to, the feeling is like you want to curl up in your nest and you just want to be in this energy, because in this part of the journey, it felt like it was gone, but it wasn't gone. You just extended so far out that a part of you, an aspect of you feels, oh, you know, what is it already? What's the feeling? I can't even grasp it. But the whole idea was not to grasp it, because you birthed yourself from it. So it was more like understanding and trusting the process of you know, being here, going there, and then coming back. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much. If you want to support my videos, go to my Patreon, my you know, sponsorship program and page, and you can also find additional information on my webpage, Serapina Light. Again, with so much love, wisdom, and power, take care, and the Cosmic Self Light Activation is available. So check the links down below, and I'll talk to you again one day soon.